French, the publications which are printed in English, French, Spanish, Russian, Arabic, Chinese languages are grouped as 1. Conventions and related acts, 2. Agreements and arrangements, 3. ICAO rules of procedures and administrative regulations, 4. Annexes, 5. Assembly, 6. Council, 7. Air navigation, 8. Air transport, 9. Legal, 10. Miscellaneous. 1. Conventions and related acts. International conventions and acts of conferences relating to civil aviation. Some significant documents are: Convention on International Civil Aviation signed at Chicago on 7 December 1944 and amended by ICAO Assembly. DOC 7300. International Air Services Transit Agreement signed at New York on 12 March 1971. DOC 7500. Convention on the International Recognition of Rights in Aircraft signed at Geneva on 19 June 1948. DOC 7620. Convention on Damage Caused by Foreign Aircraft to Third Parties on Surface signed at Rome on 7 October 1952. DOC 7364. Convention on Offenses and Certain Other Acts Committed on Board Aircraft signed at Tokyo on 14 September 1963. DOC 8364. Convention for the Suppression of Unlawful Seizure of Aircraft signed at Hague on 16 December 1970. DOC 8966. Convention for the Suppression of Unlawful Acts Against the Safety of Civil Aviation signed at Montreal on 23 Sept 1971. ICAO Publications. DOC 7632, DOC 8932, DOC 9145, DOC 9146 and DOC 9147 contain protocols to amend the Convention for the unification of certain rules relating to international carriage by air. 2. Agreements and arrangements. The significant documents published under this head are: DOC 8056, Montreal Agreement relating to certification of airworthiness for imported aircraft. DOC 7475, Working Arrangement between the International Civil Aviation Organization and World Meteorological Organization. ICAO Rules of Procedures and Administrative Regulations. There are 14 documents under this head relating to working of the ICAO. Some of these are: DOC 7600 Standing Rules of Procedures of the International Civil Aviation Organization. DOC 7559 Rules of Procedure for the Council. DOC 8229 Rules of Procedure for Air Navigation Commission. DOC 7782 Rules for the Settlement of Differences. 4. Annexes. They lay down the rules and regulations to be followed by the contracting states and their personnel, related with aviation in providing various services and facilities required for international civil aviation. Annexes mainly comprise of following: 1. Standards and Recommended Practices, SARPS. Standard, any specification for physical characteristics, configuration, material, performance, personnel or procedure. The uniform application of which is recognized as necessary for the safety or regularity of international air navigation, and to which ICAO contracting states will conform in accordance with the Convention. In the event of impossibility of compliance, notification to the ICAO Council is compulsory under Article 38 of Convention. Recommended practice, any specification for physical characteristics, configuration, material, performance, personnel or procedure. The uniform application of which is recognized as desirable for the safety or regularity of international air navigation, and to which ICAO contracting states will endure to conform in accordance with the Convention. States are invited to inform the ICAO Council of Non-Compliance. 2. Appendices comprises material groups separately for convenience but forming part of SARPS adopted by ICAO Council. 3. Definitions of terms used in the SARPS which are self-explanatory in that they do not have accepted dictionary meaning. A definition does not have independent status but is an essential part of each SARPS in which the term is used, since a change in the meaning of the term would affect the specification. 4. Tables and figures, which add to or illustrate a standard or recommended practice and which are referred to therein, form part of the associated standard or recommended practice and have the same status. Annex 1. Personnel licensing. SARPS for licensing of flight crew, cockpit and cabin, flight engineers, air traffic controllers and maintenance technicians. Annex 2. Rules of the Air. Rules developed by ICAO consisting of General Rules, Visual Flight Rules, VFR Instrument Flight Rules, IFR. The pilot in command is responsible for compliance with the rules of the air. Annex 3. Meteorological Service for International Air Navigation. Comprises SARPS and certain guidance material governing the provision of meteorological services to international air navigation. Annex 4. Aeronautical Charts. Annex 5. Units of measurement to be used in air and ground operations. Metric system as international standard. Annex 6. Operation of aircraft. Deals with SARPS for the operation of aircraft engaged in international commercial air transport. Annex 6 consists of 3 parts. Part 1. Describes SARPS for aeroplane used in international commercial air transport operation carrying passenger or freight. Part 2. SARPS applicable to international general aviation operations. Part 3. SARPS for operations of all helicopters in international civil aviation as well as international commercial air transport operation. Annex 7. Aircraft nationality and registration marking. SARPS for use and display of marks to indicate appropriate nationality and registration of aircraft. Annex 8. Airworthiness of aircraft. Broad standards which define the minimum basis for the recognition by states of certificate of airworthiness for the purpose of flight of aircraft of other states into and over their territory. It has 4 parts. Part I contains definitions. Part 2 General airworthiness procedures applicable to all aircraft within standard format for certificate of airworthiness. Part 3(3)A describes minimum airworthiness characteristics of aeroplanes for which application for certification was submitted on or after the 13th of June 1960. 3B describes minimum airworthiness characteristics of aeroplanes for which application for certification was submitted on or after the 2nd of March 2004. Part 4 deals with helicopters. Annex 9 Facilitation comprises more than 300 SARPS. Deals with expeditious entry and departure of aircraft, people, cargo and other articles at international airports. It covers facilities and services for traffic at international airports for parking and servicing arrangements of aircraft. Outbound passenger, crew and baggage. Inbound passenger, crew and baggage. Transit and transfer of passenger and crew. Cargo and mail handling and clearance facilities. Clearance controls and operation of control services. Implementation of international health regulations and related provisions. Unruly passengers. Passenger amenities. Annex 10, Aeronautical Communications deals with aeronautical communication, navigation and surveillance. Volume 1, Radio Navigation Aids General Provision for Radio Navigational Aids and Specifications for ILS, MLS, for NDB, DME, etc. Volume 2, Communication Procedure: General administrative and operational procedures to be used in international civil aviation pertaining to aeronautical fixed and mobile services. Annex 10 Aeronautical Communications, Volume 3 Communication Systems. Part 1, Digital Data Communication System. Part 2, Voice Communication System. Annex 10 Volume 4, Surveillance Radar and Collision Avoidance System. Annex 10 Volume 5, Aeronautical Radio Frequency Spectrum Utilization. Annex 11 Air Traffic Services, defines air traffic services comprising of air traffic control, flight information and alerting services. Annex 12, Search and Rescue, operating procedures of search and rescue services to be provided by contracting states within their territory and over the high seas. Annex 13 Aircraft Accident Investigation, deals with aircraft accident and incident investigation. Annex 14 Aerodromes, Volume 1, applicable to all airports open to public use. Deals with planning, design, operation and airport equipment. Physical characteristic of movement area, separation, obstacle limitation surfaces, visual aids, markings, lighting, and signs, marking and lighting of obstacles. Electrical systems, rescue and firefighting service, bird hazard control, aerodrome maintenance. Annex 14 Volume 2, deals with provisions for heliports. Annex 15, Aeronautical Information Services, NOTAM, IC, IP and supplements. Annex 16, Environmental Protection. Protection of the environment from the effect of aircraft noise and aircraft engine emissions. Annex 16 Volume 1, Provisions related to aircraft noise. Annex 16 Volume 2, Provisions related to aircraft engine emission. Annex 17 Security, safeguarding international civil aviation against acts of unlawful interference. Basis for the ICAO Civil Aviation Security Program and seeks to safeguard civil aviation and its facilities against acts of unlawful interference. Annex 18, Safe Transport of Dangerous Goods by Air. Annex 19, Safety Management. Aerodrome Design Manual Aerodromes, Air Routes and Ground Aids, DOC 9157. Provide detailed information and guidance material relating to the design of the aerodromes and facilitate the uniform application of the specifications contained in Annex 14. Part 1, Runways. Geometric design of runway and associated elements like runway shoulders, strips, runway end safety area, clearway, stopway, etc. Part 2, Taxiways, aprons and holding bays. Design criteria for taxiways, physical characteristics, shoulder and strip, apron and holding bays. Part 3, Pavements. Design of pavements, their characteristic, evaluation and reporting of bearing strength. Part 4, Visual Aids. Design and installation of visual aids used at the airport and their characteristics. Part 5, Electrical Systems. Design and installation of electrical systems for aerodrome lighting. Part 6, Frangibility. Aerodrome Services Manual deal with airport services to facilitate uniform application of Annex 14. Part 1, Rescue and Firefighting. Level of protection to be provided, vehicle and extinguishing agent characteristics, siting of fire station, training of personnel and operating procedure for dealing with an emergency. Part 2, Pavement surface condition. Basic factors affecting friction, description of test devices, measuring and reporting friction value, clearance and removal of contamination from the movement area. Part 3, Bird control and reduction. How to develop and implement an effective bird hazard control organization. Part 4, Withdrawn from circulation. Part 5, Removal of disabled aircraft. Responsibility for removing a disabled aircraft. Need for pre-arrangement with operators, other agencies, equipment and concepts of aircraft recovery. Part 6. Control of obstacles, natural and man-made, in the vicinity of airport, declared distances. Part 7. Airport emergency planning. Pre-planning for airport emergencies. Coordination with different agencies of airport and surrounding community. Part 8. Airport operational services. Various technical services to be provided by an airport and overall staffing and organization of operational services. Part 9. Airport maintenance practices. Maintenance practice required at an airport of those facilities which are normally the responsibility of airport authorities. Navigational aids and meteorological equipment for safety, efficiency and regularity of aircraft operations. How are SARPS created? The answer lies in the 4 Cs of aviation. Cooperation, consensus, compliance, and commitment. Cooperation in the formulation of SARPS. Consensus in their approval, compliance in their application and commitment of adherence to this ongoing process. Developed by Air Navigation Commission, except for Annex 9 and Annex 17. Proposal to amend existing or add new SARPS is to be approved by ANC. Proposal for which worldwide standardization is essential is normally approved by Commission. Specification proposed to be given the status of SARPS is after consultation with all contracting states and concerned international organizations finalized by ANC. And submitted to ICAO Council where they required 2/3 majority for adoption. Following their adoption and provided a majority of contracting states do not disapprove them before the established effective date, the SARPS become applicable at dates set by Council. Standards are considered binding. If any contracting state finds it impossible to comply with them, the state is required to inform ICAO of the difference. The difference is notified or published by ICAO in supplements to annexes.